Next up, we have the $2 million Juvenile Fillies, one of the most exciting races of the whole weekend. And we bring in to chat about it familiar face and voice, Brittany Eurton. Brittany, how are things?
Things are wonderful. I mean, you can really feel the excitement, right? That we are in the heat of Breeders' Cup. I cannot wait. The two biggest days of racing. So always a pleasure to jump on board here. So thanks for having me.
When I asked you to come on and talk about this race, you said something to me to the effect of, well, I asked you to talk about the right race this year. What is it you're so excited about this year's Juvenile Fillies?
Oh, come on. Everybody's going to know. It's Beholder's baby, Tamara. I love Beholder. She might be one of my favorite horses all time. I had the pleasure of covering her, you know, front and center next to Richard Mandela. She won the TVG Pacific Classic. I mean, throughout her entire career, it was just such a joy to watch. You never know, though, what kind of producer that type of mare is going to be. I mean, we've seen it before. Zenyatta's babies haven't really come to fruition as being the talented runner like she is, but Tamara, oh my goodness, I think she could be a superstar in the making. She has big shoes to fill, but as of yet, she's done nothing to disappoint us, just get us excited about what more is to come.
When did you first become aware of her? Was this one you were following from, you know, the days on the ground, or did it take a little bit longer to hear about her?
It took her first race, I'll be honest. I watched her and we covered her very first full QB1. And then, of course, Teeny Ella went on to win a stakes race. And so we've known about her babies and they've all shown a bit of talent, but I didn't know anything about Tamara until she debuted. And then you knew a lot about her.
What were your first impressions?
Wow. And how special is this? How special is this for Spendthrift, for Richard Mandela, for the entire team, considering I had read this earlier that the late B. Wayne Hughes, he really wanted to match up Beholder and Bolt d'Oro. It was something that he thought was going to be a great matchup and sadly passed away a few years ago. But like for him to have, you know, to be watching from above this horse run to the fruition of what he thought it could be and to be named after his daughter, Tammy, it's just the whole story is really special and she's talented.
No doubt about it. In the hands of a normal, you know, your average horse trainer, I might be a little bit nervous about this idea of going from the 7 furlongs off this break to a test like the Breeders' Cup. For some reason, my inclination when it's Richard Mandela making the call is to just sort of defer and say, in Mandela we trust. From what you've seen of Tamara, how concerned are you about the time between races and the added distance in this race?
Not at all, because of what you just said. I mean, it's the 20th anniversary of Mano Mandela. He knows how to get a horse primed and ready for the Breeders' Cup. And so the fact that he chose to not run in the Chandelier doesn't bother me in the slightest, because he's obviously treating each horse as an individual, treating her as an individual and saying, okay, you know what, let's have the time between races, even though it didn't even look like she took a breath in her most recent start, winning the debutante. It's a concern at a short price, right? For horse players, how much can you trust a horse doing something new for the first time at a very short price? But she has the makings of getting 2 turns. Mike Smith has said everything that we've seen in the morning in terms of her works and her gallop out, the way that she's finishing indicates that she can get 2 turns. And if Mandela thinks that she doesn't need that underneath her belt, then I trust him as well.
Yeah. Who are we to question the man who he wins this race every so often, and it's about time. You already answered what my next one was going to be. It had to do with how she's looked since, and if you have any kind of a read on her current condition. Sounds like all systems go.
Yeah, just based off of what Mike has had to say, saying that she's a very, very special filly. And obviously he's felt that in her races, but to notice that in her morning works, to sense a continued progression, because that's what's big with 2-year-olds, right? I'm not saying that she is a lock. She does feel like one of the locks of the 2 days. But with 2-year-olds, why we've seen so many upsets over the years in these races is because any horse can step forward at any given time. There's so much room for improvement. But isn't that a scary thought if she still has room for improvement?
It really is. Didn't exactly scare a ton of other fillies away. It looks like it's going to be close to a big full field, if not a full field in this spot. If she is to get upset, Tamara, what direction would your eye be looking from this far out?
Well, I would say, and I'm surprised as well that so many horses are stacking up against her. Maybe it is because she hasn't gone the 2 turns yet. Maybe it's the $2 million. Who knows? It's the Breeders' Cup. Everybody wants to be involved. Candide is going to be the obvious. And what she obviously has that Tamara does not is the experience around 2 turns. I did not love her finish in the Alcibiades, hanging on the wrong lead most of the race, but maybe that's just a quirk of hers. She is a young horse. When you talk about the horses out west, Chattelis, not the fastest run race, not the biggest buyer speed figure number, but she's got pace and she's got experience over the track. And I think that those 2 things can be very dominant. You know who's an interesting one for me that's still a maiden is Scalable for Todd Pletcher. You're going to get a big price on this runner. And for him to ship this horse out west to run in a graded stakes race as a maiden, he obviously sees that there is a positive future for this horse and is giving her a chance. So there are probably a myriad of directions that you could go if you think Tamara can be beat.
One I did want to mention and get your impression on is Vivi's Dream as one to me who looked like might be headed in the right direction. Do you think she might be headed in the right direction enough to potentially land a blow against this talented field?
She might have had the perfect prep. You know what I mean? Just the horse that is slowly inching and gradually getting better, because you want them to peak on that day, right? On Future Stars Friday, that's when you want them to peak. You don't want them to have already run their best race. And so if this is a horse that's progressively getting better, yes, one more step forward. The numbers in between Tamara and the rest of the field, it's a big discrepancy right now. But like I said before, these are young horses. They could take a big jump forward. A horse like Just FYI for Bill Mott, I'm not sure what to make of that runner because of the fact it was over the slop last time out. So there's a lot of other factors with some other runners within the field that you question, but progression in the right direction, that's all we need, right? For a 2-year-old.
Indeed. And I do think any case for anybody to step up and win this race does involve Tamara probably having to take a step back. But this is horse racing and stranger things have happened. For me, though, Tamara, one of the horses on the whole day I'm most looking forward to betting. And it sounds like it's the same for you, Brittany.
Now it's just more for the story. You know, I don't think you're going to get a great price on her, but just can you imagine the emotion from the connections if she were to win? I believe 11 years after her mother did the exact same thing. It doesn't always pan out that way, but it feels like it's one of those fairy tale stories almost. So I, as a biased fan, because I love Beholder, would love to see her daughter win. But as a gambler, it might be a short price to take. So I would definitely throw some other horses underneath to get a decent price.
Yeah, and I think we've covered a lot of the interesting ones potentially get in there. None more so for me than Vivi's Dream, who we mentioned. I thought your Scalable as a long shot idea was interesting. Let us know where we can see more of you Breeders' Cup week, Brittany.
Okay, well, really looking forward to being on both USA and NBC, both Friday and Saturday. We have unprecedented lengthy coverage on NBC, which is really, really great. So obviously the Classic will be the final show in our window, and then we'll move over to Peacock for the final 2 Breeders' Cup races. But we are going to be on NBC, main NBC, for hours on Saturday, which is phenomenal. And leading up into that, we have about 4 races, I think, off the top of my head on USA. So between the 2 channels, we will have everybody fully covered and set up for 2 phenomenal days of racing.
Terrific. You doing anything during the week or really prepping and getting ready for the weekend?
Mostly prep. I say it's a school night every night, so no fun to be had. No, I'm just kidding. I'm looking forward to going out in the morning, enjoying the breakfast show. Got the post position draw. Thursday, we're doing a betting show. So it's just a lot of just trying to soak up all of the information. You know, it's a lot. There are a lot of runners, a lot of races, but you got to have some fun too, because that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. Brittany, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you want more great content, choose one of the videos you see on screen now, or go to our website, inthemoneypodcast.com. And for even more, check out inthemoneypodcast.com/plus.